Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this edition of the MLB Podcast. So today is June 25th, 2018. We were last recorded on June the 7th, so right now, it's kind of an interesting period. So the MLB right now is the dominant sport. Now, granted, NFL training camp is a month away, but still, mini camps can be a big headline as well. And also, NBA free agency, that's going to be a big deal in about a week from now. Where will LeBron James play? Whether it's in Cleveland or the Lakers or the Rockets. I don't know for sure where LeBron James is going. And now it is time for the MLB Podcast. So when we last spoke, the same as last, say, 2.5 weeks ago. So the format we're going to do this time is we're going to start out with each. We're going to go by division. So we're going to go east to west. And this time, we're going to start out with the National League. So the National League East, Nationals-Phillies this weekend was a very, very interesting series. The Phillies won the first game, 12-2, and the next game, 5-3. And last night, that was a very, very interesting game. So the Phillies got off to a 2-0 lead after Hoskins hit that home run. The Nats got into business. I think they scored 2 runs, tied the game up. I think in the 4th inning, there was a rain delay. And then when the Phillies came back, Abdul Herrera at that 2-run triple, Nick Williams hit that 2-run home run, and they led 6-2, and you're thinking they're going to sweep the series, they're going to remain in control, but they didn't give up. And here's one big factor why, let's talk about Bryce Harper. So last night's game, and granted, it's 5 at-bats. It's a very small sample size. But it was a tale of two seasons for Harper. The first 2 at-bats of what he looks like recently. And A-Rod pointing that out. He was missing fastballs that if you're on and if you're hitting right, you're locked in, you might be hitting doubles, hard singles, or even home runs. Harper was missing those pitches or fouling them off. He wasn't in it. He struck out on a fastball and a curveball his first 2 at-bats. And then hit 3 doubles in a row, including one of them that was, including 2 of them were huge doubles, got the team back into the game. So, is Harper back? I don't know. Maybe the way he was hitting towards the end of the game, he could be getting better, but it's hard to say. And then the other story line is, so what happened after that? Daniel Murphy, who had microfracture surgery. When you think of the term microfracture, you might think, oh, it's fairly minor, keyword micro, and you don't think it's surgery. Daniel Murphy got that in October. Didn't come back till 2 weeks ago against the Yankees in New York. Ed was having trouble hitting. Was not locked in yet. Trying to get his timing down at the big league level after not facing big league pitching for 8 months. Just trying to catch up to the rest of the league. And last night had 3 hits, including the last of them. I think they're down 6-5 in 8th inning. And then Nick Vetta, it was Seranthony Dominguez, who's one of the better National League relief pitchers. Power arm who can come in 8th, 9th inning. He's a low slider and hit the ball not hard enough for it to be caught in the right, well, hard enough for it to be so the second baseman couldn't catch it. And there you go. But anyways, the Nats won last night, and the Phillies ending 2 out of 3 against them. And that, what this means? The season ended today, the Phillies would be in the playoffs. And I do think these Phillies, I think they are a playoff team. You look at the rotation. Nola is good. Pivetta, who had 13 strikeouts in last game, pitched very well last night. Had 13 strikeouts against the Cardinals last Monday. Pitched well last night. And then, where else do you go? They brought in Jake Arrieta, which reminds me, this series, the Phillies were the better team. Now, they should have swept. But it seems like almost every inning, probably 23 out of the 27 innings I estimated, they were the better team. The Phillies were the better team in that series. They just couldn't quite finish. They do have some bullpen problems they might need to address if they're still in contention like they are right now. But overall, they're a good team. And one of the big reasons why I think is veteran presence. They brought in Carlos Santana and Jake Arrieta. 2 guys who Arrieta was on all those Cubs really good teams that won the World Series, and Carlos Santana was on that Indians World Series team, and a lot of other really good Indians teams. So they're guys that bring postseason experience. They know what it's like to win. They know what it's like to play and win the World Series. Where other guys in the Phillies, guys who have been there since 2015, Cesar Hernandez, Aaron Nola, Dubal Herrera, they have never come close to the playoffs. They don't know what it's like to win. So I think those two guys, and this is my opinion, I think that while they're not dominating, they're not MVP or Cy Young candidates, they're bringing that leadership. They know what it's like to win, and they're bringing it to the Phillies, and they're trying to establish a new culture. They're trying to establish a winning culture, and that's what they've done. And I think those moves the Phillies made, I think it showed that they're ready to win this year, and they're ready to move closer and closer to the playoffs, and they could actually make it to the playoffs this year. They can even win the National League East. And will they finish? Well, so next week the Phillies are playing at New York, or the Yankees in Philadelphia, which I think will be quite hard, and then they're playing the Nationals again. So as long as they can, they're half game up, very nearly up 2.5 games up. They can win one game, stay afloat, and they win 3 out of 4. They could be in control of the wild card with 2 weeks left to play before the All-Star break. And now, granted, the Nationals, while they're playing the Rays, here's one thing that could be a disadvantage to keep an eye on. Last night's game started at 8 o'clock. So you think it's going to go 8 from 11? There was a long game. It took 3 hours and 40 minutes. Plus, there's about a 40-minute rain delay. So the game ended about 12:30. And then assuming when they get out of the clubhouse, 1, 2 o'clock, get to the airport, they probably don't take off until 2:30. Probably get into Tampa 5 in the morning, and they arrive at the hotel. They're worn out. This could be one of these nights where they come out, look flat, don't play very well, and lose 10-2 once again, like they played on Friday. That could happen. Now, granted, that's one thing about baseball that some fans don't think about. They don't think about the travel, the wear and tear, what happened last night, how does this co-affect in tonight. They could lose tonight, and they could potentially split that series. And if the Phillies beat them next weekend and win 3 or 4 games, they really could be in control of the wild card race. And the Nationals, who are they more like, since they are not really, they got off to a slow start. Overall, they've played well since then, but they've gone through another rough patch, like they did in April. And they were hot in May, and in June, they've not been themselves. So what kind of team are they? You remember, are they the 2013 team or the 2015 team, where people said, and people said this about this team for now 5-6 years now, okay, they're going to win the division. That's a given. They're going to the playoffs. And we're going to pick them to win the World Series. And 2 of those times, they've missed the playoffs. They've not won those big games. And this could be getting to them. This is Bryce Harper's last year of his contract. And I'm wondering if the contract has something to do with his play or it's just a slump. Probably a little bit of both, but I think it's mostly a slump. Anyways, how good is this Nationals team really? Strasburg's hurt. He's been hurt for about 2+ weeks now, and we don't know when he's going to be back. They don't have a timetable yet. Could be the All-Star break. So we don't know there. And all their top 4 hitters from last year, their core 4 of Rendon, Harper, Zimmerman, Murphy, they have not shared the lineup spot together. Thankfully, Harper's been healthy, but hasn't always been there, especially by the way he's been playing the last month or so. He's terribly slumped. That dropped his average all the way down to 210. And then you go back to Zimmerman. Hadn't played in about 6-7 weeks. Murphy didn't play till 2 weeks ago. Rendon missed 3 weeks. So they have had injuries to their offense, and it's happened all over the field. Adam Eaton missed 2 months. Didn't return until about 2 weeks ago. So there you go. They've had injuries. And then you go to the Braves. Look, I think the Braves have good pitching. They really do. Mike Foltynewicz. His ERA is just barely over 2. I saw that game where he pitched a shutout against the Nationals. He has had some good outings this year. Well, they don't have that true ace yet. They right now, they're the best team in the National League East. No question about it. It's always been their offense. Their offense seems like it's been there all year long. Now, granted, they could have won more games against the Orioles. They should have won Friday. They didn't. They lost that series to the Orioles, but that's okay. Small sample size. So if I had to pick who's going to win the East right now, I don't know yet. Here are some things to keep in mind. How well do the Braves play down the stretch? Since they play 500, they're probably a playoff team. They just need to play over 500, and they'll at least get a wild card. What happens in next week's Nationals-Phillies series? How much impact does that have? Question is, I think this is going to be a two-team playoff division. And the question is, which team is going to be left out? And the way we've seen, say, over the last 10 days, if you had to pick one of them, it seems like the Nationals at the way they're going. So how well do the Nationals play this week and through the All-Star break? What does the division look like? How do these three teams play towards the All-Star break? That'll be an interesting question to answer. So next, we'll go to the NL Central. Very surprising news this weekend in the NL Central. The Cincinnati Reds had a 4-game sweep of the Chicago Cubs. The Cubs got swept by the Reds. And going into this series, I was thinking, okay, this is a great opportunity for the Cubs to maybe even pass the Brewers. And they didn't. And the Brewers, I think, switched to the Cardinals.